Hello, I'm Patricia Henderson with Senior Connection Center, and this is your weekly connection. We all know about earthquakes. There's an upheaval in the earth and lives get disrupted. But have we thought about lifequakes? When there's an upheaval in our lives and there's disruption that follows. To talk with us today about lifequakes is Patricia Fuller, PhD, Dr. Pat, as she's known to most people, and she comes to us as Director of Wellness Engineering from BKS-Partners. She has a BA in French, a Master's in Accounting, and a PhD in Holistic Nutrition. Dr. Pat, that's quite a resume.
Well, I guess you could call me a lifelong learner. My first degree was for my dad, my second degree was for my husband, and my third was for me. So I think that's fairly typical of a woman's life trajectory.
Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Can you tell us a little bit more about lifequakes?
Sure. The reason that lifequakes resonated with me is because I think everyone has them, but when they're going on, they don't realize that it really is an opportunity. So this book came to my attention from Arianna Huffington, and I just immediately was drawn to it and read it and had to write about it and share it because we are going through a lifequake collectively. So I think most people think of a lifequake as something horrible that happens to them personally. And then there's something that ensues. And so everyone has those. According to Filer, we have three to five during our lifetime of lifequakes. And this is the first time in my history that we've all gone through a lifequake together. So it's just an upheaval in your life that was by surprise that results in life changes. So I couldn't think of anything more pertinent than to COVID than this particular book. So that's what compelled me to write about it.
Now, can you give us the title of that book that you're referencing?
Yes, it's called Life is in the Transitions, and it's written by Bruce Filer, and that's F-E-I-L-E-R.
And we'll have that information at the end of the video on an end card for people who are watching. Now, 2020, as you mentioned, has been just one big collective lifequake for everyone. Does everyone react to lifequakes in the same way? Do they impact people in the same way?
No, absolutely not, they don't. So I think that there are three different reactions to a lifequake. And just to give you an example is I have a dog. Her name is Izzy, and the dog I had before that was James. And when there was a thunderstorm, James would bark at it. He was like, I'm gonna fight it. And Izzy cowers from it. So that's pretty much what happens in a lifequake is either you run towards it or you run away from it. You're a warrior or a victim, or you decide to just control what you can control, which in my world, that's huge. So in the wellness world, people look at behavior change, like say you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to exercise more or whatever you're trying to do. Everybody's aware of what they should do, but then actually doing it is something completely different. So it's about 10% awareness. So just having the information may make behavior change, but the biggest chunk of it is your environment. It's about 40%. So it's easier to change your environment than it is to change your behavior. So if you just engineer, that's why I'm a wellness engineer, is engineer your environment to support your change, you're more likely to be successful at it. So what has happened with COVID is it's changed everyone's environment. And some people have taken it to the, wow, now I get to have dinner with my family every night versus, oh no, I can't get Uber Eats anymore. Or I have to figure out a way to exercise somehow because I can't go to my gym anymore. So I'm riding my bike with my children. I'm riding my bike with my spouse, my grandchildren. my neighbors. So they figure out other ways to do it, and good comes from it. It's not all bad. So you either attack it, or you don't, or you become a victim. And I'm kind of the attack mode.
Now, what are some specific ways that individuals, especially seniors, can better cope with or even embrace Lifequakes?
Well, I think it's important to embrace a routine. So part of the world or school or any other institution that we belong to has a routine, and people are most routine in the morning. So when you wake up, you have your coffee, you shower, eat your breakfast, whatever it is, you have a set routine. And I think the first thing you got to do is make your bed. And that there are books about this, that just making your bed is the beginning of your day and makes a huge difference. It sounds really small, but it's a line in the sand. And then proceed with 3-4 things that you do. Maybe it's you read a newspaper, maybe you have breakfast, maybe you have coffee, whatever it is. You have to subscribe to that routine and stick with it regardless of what's going on in the outside world. And then purposely connect with loved ones, with friends. And obviously that's not easy right now. So we've all become rather adept at this Zoom thing, something that we all kind of avoided before. The kids have been doing FaceTime forever. And when my sons are, I'm like, I don't want to do that. But now it's fine. So we adapt, but we need to have a routine. We need to do it on purpose.
And that gives control.
Exactly.
And often that is, as you said, what people are feeling like they're losing during a lifequake is control. And routines can give control.
Right. So one of the things that happened in my career and resulted in me going from accounting to holistic nutrition was Enron. So Enron was a scandal that ended up closing an entire accounting firm as well as a company. And I was going to leave PricewaterhouseCoopers to go teach accounting and auditing at the University of Tampa. And I had a position, I was ready to go. And then Enron happened and they said, I'm sorry, we can't have you because you don't have your PhD. We already have our quota of master's instructors. And Enron was responsible for that because what happened at Enron changed everything about accounting and internal control, including accounting education. So here I thought I was going to become a professor, and I had jettisoned all my support system for my children, for everything, to just go be a professor, and then I couldn't be. So what am I going to do now? And I was drawn to nutrition because I was managing a course about stress, and we couldn't find the right nutrition message. So I went back to school to become the nutritionist we needed. And that's how I ended up here. So it was a lifequake. It was absolutely something that was out of my control, that really just, it could have stopped me in my tracks, but instead it led to a whole new career. So it was, and if you look back on your life, and this is important for seniors, is you have lived a lot of life. And you have to tell those stories. You have to look back at those lifequakes and look what happened afterwards. How did you react to it? And my reaction to the lifequake is always, okay, there's something, the world is telling me something right now. I need to behave differently. So I go and do something differently. It doesn't necessarily have to be bad. It can be good, an opportunity.
And I think one of the things that we're seeing in this collective lifequake are a lot of opportunities that are coming about. A lot of people are embracing technology that they would not have embraced before, like you said, because of a need to stay connected.
Right.
A lot of people are walking in their neighborhoods. They've not done that before, but they're feeling the need both to connect and to get exercise because they don't want to go to the gym. So I think we're seeing opportunities, and that's important, as you said, to see that as an opportunity rather than seeing as only a crisis, but a crisis that breeds opportunities.
Absolutely, it does. What has thrilled me about it is the number of people who are actually cooking again or have started to cook. I have a friend who never, ever, ever cooked in her whole life. And she got this HelloFresh meal service and she's loving it. And she's really, really, she finds it meditative. She invites people to cook with her and it's been great for her and her family. And that never would have happened. She would have just said, nope, not doing it. But she is, so I'm really proud of her.
That's wonderful. And I think there are so many opportunities to try new things. Many people may feel like they don't have an opportunity to try anything new during the pandemic, during this collective lifequake. And back in May, we had Older Americans Month. And that is a national recognition of older adults and the contributions they make to their communities and society as a whole. And this year's theme was Make Your Mark. And it talked about making your mark in with your family, with your friends, and your community. And perhaps older adults are feeling that their life chapter that they were going to live after their retirement or after their grandchildren got a little older or they had grandchildren, their chapter, their life has been disrupted. They can't travel now as much as they wanted to. Their hobbies that they had decided to pursue or volunteer work, especially, has come to a halt. What would you say to them? What encouragement or words of advice would you give to them in that situation to encourage them or to suggest ways that they can write a new chapter?
Well, there are several things that they can do. One of them is to take up golf. It is one of the few sports that was not subject to social distancing. And I took up golf again and I have made all kinds of new friends. And golf is the great equalizer. It doesn't matter whether you're a cardiovascular surgeon or a janitor. It doesn't matter what your life was before you got on the golf course because everybody feels the same when they play. So I think it's a great equalizer. So take up golf, definitely start to ask questions. So part of Filer's book was about his dad and how he started to ask him questions. So one of the things that the Connection Center can do is have these discussions about what was your favorite toy? How did you meet your spouse? Where did you go to school? How did you used to spend your time? Because if you actually mine for that information, you're going to find that you have a lot in common with other people that you never would have talked about before. You're just talking about your day-to-day as opposed to delving into the past and having those conversations because we have a lot more in common than we think we do. And
And those stories can be a wonderful gift to their families.
For sure. My grandmother owned a speakeasy, and that to me was fascinating because she's just grandma, but she has this wonderful history that you just don't think of. So part of it is on kids and is to ask their parents and to ask their grandparents, what did you do for fun? What was your life like? What was your favorite food? What was those types of questions that seem kind of inane or not important? They can really mine for some rich conversation.
And I think an important question right now, as modes of learning have changed, that they could ask their parents or grandparents, what was school like when you were growing up? And I think that would be a really good starting point for a lot of other conversations, because things have changed.
They have
and they're
changed
continuing to
mightily.
change.
They have changed mightily. They have, but the kids are adapting. They're fine. They're doing it.
It's the adults who often have the greater problem with
That's true.
adapting to change. The change happens, and change happens every day, and it is likely that this collective lifequake is not the only one that we may individually or collectively experience. And embracing it as an opportunity rather than just a crisis can help individuals cope. As you said, with routines, with exploring new things. Any other words of wisdom you would want to share with us today?
I think that whenever life gets hard for me, it's a time of reflection. So one of the best things that you can do for yourself is to just write it down. So if you are having negative thoughts or you're having negative emotions, you have to get rid of them. And keeping a journal, whether it's you record it on your phone or you write it down, whatever you do, you have to express it, because otherwise it's going to come out in a way you don't want it to. So just talk about it somewhere, get rid of it. I think that's the most important thing I could say about feeling bad.
And journaling can be a really good opportunity to reminisce as well. And
I never look at it again. I mean, I write it down, but then I don't look at it again. So it really does work.
Mm-hmm.
And it can remind you of some good things, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Pat, thank you so much for joining us today. And I am looking forward to personally finding more opportunities in this collective crisis. And I hope others will as well, to see the opportunities for change, to see the opportunities that Lifequakes bring. And we want to make sure that people have information about the book, and we'll put that out as well at the end of the video.
Great.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Patricia Henderson, and this is your Weekly Connection.